Hi everyone. I'd like to start by thanking the Art Bar team for inviting me to read. I'm going to be reading from my debut collection of poetry, A Map of Rain Days, published this September by Guernica Editions. The poems in the book were largely written over the past decade, with some of the poems dating back to earlier times. I'm going to start with I Love You. I love you, he said. You are my heart. I'll cut your tongue out so you can't speak like that anymore. I'll cut your feet off and I'll carry you around when I want. I'll cut your hands off so you can't touch another man's face the way you touch mine. Will you cut my cunt out, she asked, so I can't fuck another man or even myself? I'll cut it out and I'll keep it in a locked drawer. I'll take it out when I need to and place it in the space between your legs. Or, maybe, if I'm angry, I'll take it into another room, put it around my cock, and thrash around some. I'll cut your breasts off so no man can look at them. Then you can wear what you like. What will you leave me, she asked. I'll leave you my right hand to hold when you're alone. And I'll leave you my heart. The next poem is Winter. It's from my mother, Zuleika, and my daughter, Natasha. I wrote this poem when my mother passed away, and 4 days later, my daughter moved to Los Angeles. In the poem, I am Demeter, the goddess of the harvest who has just lost her daughter to the king of the underworld, and also I am Persephone, longing for her mother. Winter. I am Demeter, in winter black as Hades, turning fields to stone, forests to dust, in my wrath and despair that my beloved is gone. I pick rocks from the side of the road to eat in the absence of corn. They thunder along my intestines, dulling the noise in my head. I scream inside the walls of February, wait for my beloved who is light, breath, sun, spring. Make love to boys I have turned to bones in this drought I have brought. I am Persephone, bound beneath the light, longing for the tick of my mother's heart, the pad of her yellowed feet on the floor. But my winter will linger for years, and my mother will tread across the skies, her feet into mountains, her face yellow as the sun, peering down at the shadow I have become. Demeter is my mother, Persephone my daughter. I am neither, I am all, I am only winter. The next poem is Heart. My mother's heart begins to drift away, but we are selfish and tell her to let them fix it, and we pace and pace the days. Don't tell her it's a poor sign aortic valves open and close that keeps her herself, until she is not herself. Voice crooked, face fallen, buttons askew, and pants half on the floor. I cannot begin. Beloved mother is a clipped winged bird that floats around in lace-edged nightgowns, soft, soft skin like a schoolgirl's, shooing away the cats, and always packing her clothes to go home. The next poem is the title poem, A Map of Rain Days. I am bent by the way that these things go, put my face in my hands, and pull the skin taut across miles and miles. Walk down the corridors in my mother's bruised shoes. My mother's toes are crooked and curled in a misguided, arthritic map of rain days. The next poem is Breath. Our breath sits heavy on the dashboard. Mother floats around the car with the snow. Our boots crunch and slide across new graves, and Uncle says, "She is here. No, she is here," blowing his vodka breath into the sky. Conductor. Take my hand tonight on the snow-white tracks of my dreams. Be my night conductor and steer me from the monsters that throw me up against the walls of this boxcar life. The next poem is Wedding Day from my daughter Natasha. You are the princess beneath my pillow. I am the pea that sways in the corners of your night. You are my map of the city. Every place is only meaningful in the way that you were there with me. This is the airport that you're leaving me from. This is the road that takes me away from you. When you leave, you take the light away. I wait for your whisper. Hold tight to the pillow that you laid your head upon, as if it were love itself. Pull stitches out of your discarded dresses, unraveling the years between us. Then I begin to sew your wedding dress. Tree lights string me across the desert, my feet parched with longing. Across the universe, in a sun-bleached room, I lay the snow-white dress on the bed. Today is your wedding day. You tug at the hem of your dress, dip your white heels into the grass. In the Hollywood afternoon, you are breathtakingly happy. In the morning, I have to return to my life without you. I press my tears to the door of your hotel room to feel your breath. When I look for you in mirrors, you shine behind my eyes. Sometimes you whisper to me to wrap you tight in the star-punched night. Swish. These days, she lives with a man on a long stretch of grass between Mennonite farms. Wind turbines swish swish in the wet snow. A horse and buggy grow faint beneath the white-laden trees that bend across the road. Dogs bark at the surprise of guests on such a forlorn day. And your girl waits on the other side of the glass door, snow already piled on the porch. Window. She rolled through sky like butter, night effervescent with the glow that spit out of her. Embers turning into stars in the sky that could not love her the way she or anybody needed. But you loved her, gave her walls to keep her safe, food to buy her time, but the walls bent, as if your sins had chewed furiously at them, multi-legged termite ghosts, through days and days. And what did she see when she stepped into sky and dreams and dusk that sounded like city squalor banging prayers in her head? And how can you sleep in your bed by the window that I, in another spring, leaned out of to watch the schoolboys below? The next poem is called Mon Pays. My country is an ice storm, trees bent to the devil and smelly, damp boots. On the bus, our noses are the same matching red, toques pulled low over foggy, crisp breath, holes in our glove thumbs, yet he scowls and says, "Go home, go back to your country, where you came from." So I tell him, "Yes, I'll go back, to the foot of Mount Royal, to the unconditional arms of my mother wrapped around me and my smelly boots." I tell him, my mother's black coat against the winter-white paysage is always and only home, and he should be so lucky. Okay, the next poem is called White. I began to write this the summer before the 2016 US election, and I finished writing it a few days after. When I was a child, I just need to preface a little bit here for you. When I was a child, until I was maybe 10 or so, I used to dream of a pill or a cream or something that would turn my skin white so that I could have a life like the other kids or the other people. And so that's what I'm referring to when I talk about this pill in the poem White. White, after the U.S. election, November 8th, 2016. I used to daydream that white was a tablet you could place on your tongue and the morning would be a better place. But here, now, in my tiny radius of the world, I am almost white. I pass through doors and no one sees me or calls me names to my face. But it's only here that I pass, in perfectly pressed clothes that I nip and tuck to not draw attention to my skin. Not north, where I am a dark spot on snow. Not south, where I am a stain that warrants walls to keep me out, registries, bullets, and jails. The other day it occurred to me that I didn't wish to be white anymore, the way I had wished when I was 10 and 7 and 5, the first time I was punched, spit on, pushed, barred, called Paki, and go back to your country, and you don't belong. That was a long time ago, when I couldn't walk with my head up or down. But yesterday, they put a noose around a boy's head and yanked, and they are yelling, "Go back to where you came from," and "Your time's up," and "Heil Hitler." I think I might need that pill soon. The next poem is Exile, Canadian Shield. In the city, I cannot stop. In the Canadian Shield, there is stillness, windows and sky. Auntie cannot bear to live in this faraway place while Uncle is thinning out of the living world. They hide in the basement as if they are hidden in rock and snow. Auntie moved into my bedroom when I was 2. She slipped the fear out of the night when she entered the room. On her wedding day, I danced in the front yard, drunk on cheap something, stomping snow, marveling at the moon and the whoosh in my head. I see their footprints getting smaller in the snow, but it is summer, and the rain has birthed a fog of mosquitoes. Unfamiliar. I lie awake, conjuring cane and saltwater sea. I wish I had asked, "Tell me about my skin." I used to wish to fade into sky. How did my father learn to put his feet down on unfamiliar soil? My mother's steps had a ring to them of certainty. She knew. I did not. The next poem is Ink. In the mornings, my fingers were stained the color of the ink that I used to write you into my dreams. Sometimes you were black ink handprints along the walls. All the colors that I used to paint you were propped up around my life, blocking the real and putting into its place a semblance of you. By the spring, I had so many canvases that you began to appear as a man, breathing and soft-mouthed, reclining on my bed. I could not tell real from writing, skin from paint. Hammersmith and Queen. 1. Hammersmith and Queen, 2 a.m., my parked car, windows down. I reach through the night to rest my fingers in your uncombed, dirty hair, roll up the windows as 2 men weave down the street towards us, their broken, bird-like swagger breaking us apart. I turn on the radio and dance you outside my car. You spin me around on the broken boardwalk. When I pause to wipe the sand from my eyes, you are gone. 2. You are on your porch, looking out at the boardwalk. I was the love of your life, you screamed on the phone once, twice, many times, many years ago. I used to sit in my parked car in your driveway after I had run out the door, leaving you behind with your beer and 100 empties tucked away beneath the sink with your bad dreams. 3. Your apartment has smelled of cat since she died and left you and her cat to fill the black, soulless nights. You invite your friends one by one. or all at once to keep you company, because you cannot fill the space she left in your bed. The cat is pale-hued and jumps through the window like a ghost. 4. As I fly down Lakeshore Boulevard in my car, Jack is dying. His wife bends over him, children askew in the darkened room. I cannot sleep tonight. While I kill time until the pink sky comes to kiss me to sleep, 2 blocks away, Jack dies. Road. I opened for you on the road, fill my car up with wet longing. Pinch me, bend me, let me suck you up with my hands, swallow you with my eyes, yearn with my tongue up and down the twisted night. I am so far from home on this road that winds and bends through snow and stars. How will I find my way back? Stories. The taste of you stays on my tongue like old pennies while you dream the sleep of angels. I trace your face into the night on my ragged fingertips. Taste your breath but spill stories onto the sheets. Reach into your dreams to put myself there. Fall. The leaves have fallen from their hosts the way I fell from you. Once you were air, then you were cinders that I spat up now and then. Leap day. Leap day is snow blowing across your eyelids when you finally kiss sleep like a dead man at 8 in the morning. The telephone begins ringing at 10, but you hear only the snow falling. The wind blows a storm through your eyes. The sky sits behind the clouds, and a storm blows through again. For a few hours I can live in the solace of your sadness, because you can see who I am in the moments you are still. But I am always anticipating the moment you throw your limbs around the room, scattering your shattered soul, throwing your ugliest voice at me. When your words knock me to the floor, I pick up the pieces and walk away. You watch the hours drop like days through the night, walk in circles until nothing, just snow and the dream of beer. So up again to pull a bottle from under the sink like a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat. Beer is your bread, your fish, your salvation. Romance. I tell you, I am not a romantic. You say I like to speak of the stars. The stars fell. The romance has been chewed out of me, kisses carved away. So many things in and out of me, I cannot tell my skin from the floor or the chill night air. Voice. I attempt to trace your tangled voice in the black air with the sandpaper lips of my fingers, but my fingertips are just garbled whispers. Mouth. I reach into the back of my mouth to pull pieces of you out, but they stick, so I choke and fumble through the days after you are gone. Cacophony. Huddle in a shadow against the hard crack and snap of winter. Listen to your breath fall in the cacophony of sheets against our skin. November. November is a painting that we step into, falling head over heels into scarlet, laughter on our faces, though our hearts are heavy with the mundane. But, driving home across the luminous landscape, Indian summer haze across the lake, and feet restless for sandals, conjure you in my passenger seat as the wind turns my hair into a whirl. And then what more is there that I can want? History. Look at me on his bed. History will not untie me. His story, always someone's his story. His cock dances around me. his cock like a beacon, a game of sticks. I tire of the ins and outs of me, my beauty laid flat on the bed for his story to unwind the night, the morning, the clothes from my back. I am just undressed, no lace, no red, no perfume, just my skin is me. Used to. Sex used to be everything to me, the much of it, the lack of it, the colors that fled across the backs of my eyes. Pressed into black night, flecks of damp across the backs of thighs, dip dancing me in a silent room to the ruckus in my head. I put myself in terrible corners to feel that slap tumble through dead-end days. Subterfuge. I, too, once lived a life of subterfuge, voice pressed into the phone, shoulder tucked into a wall, so that I became the thin voice itself and little more. I know the moment of falling flat onto the eggshells that litter your house. You tiptoe until one day, feet press into air, and you are ascending. I used to walk through clouds, climb painstakingly out of my skin, turning my back on the breathing life that tied me down and bound me up in electrical cords. Velvet. 2 nights before I was to marry the hawk-nosed madman, you appeared. Russet-haired boy-man, let me lean into your bear's back, let me drink from you until the dawn. I awoke to the telephone's cacophony, sun burning through the slats, pondered the marriage license on the table and my daughter's gleaming hair as I went out the door. But you appeared again, tall as a carpenter, sleek as a boy, flesh and blood in Yvonne's kitchen, a glint in your green eye. So we drank and children ran in the house. I prayed to a God I did not believe in, that the night would not end, that you would not leave us on the street, driving off in your white van. But you did, so I put my daughter to bed and answered the telephone that had been ringing and ringing. The madman called me names, accused me of this and that. I put my daughter in the stroller and walked like the wind to the bar where you were drinking in a red velvet booth on the 2nd floor. We lay my sleeping daughter on velvet like a princess on a pea, and I put on my best funny and charming until closing time, wishing you would take us home. You took us to your house beside the railway tracks, and I put my daughter to sleep in your bed. A train raised the dead as it rolled by. You went to sleep in the living room. Of course, I eased myself out of your bed, careful not to wake the child. You were sitting by the window, listening for trains. We smoked a little, and I told you my tales until you sent me to your bed alone. I went home in the morning, answered the phone, listened to the madman's mad tales. Father dying, I love you, blah, blah. He lied, bold-faced. You did not save me, Bearman, after all. I saw you on the street in the fall. I was with my husband and my daughter, bruises buried beneath a crooked smile. You flashed your green eyes at me, and you were gone. King of the night. Like you, he chose me from afar. I had only seen a blurred face, a speeding car, but I knew his eyes that followed me, silver slits opening the sky. Red is the color of the night when he comes, when I twist and run, and when I see his silver slit eyes breaking through the alleyways, I tear away, and when I am safe behind locked doors, I turned around to find him. In his hands, he holds all of me. Travels. The sky gives off the sweet odor of chocolate. I am bathed in a downpour of Nestle chocolate and still thinking of you. I cannot erase the years or your voice from my answering machine. You surround me. From the window of the Don Mills 25 bus, the valley opens up like a womb in the rain. I carry you around in the hollow of my chest. Beneath my ribs, you dig tunnels, hundreds of tunnels, and you won't leave. For every step forward, I take 2 steps back, always towards you. No one knows why I stay, why you're back. You make a mask for your face with your brittle anger. If I walked off this bus onto the frozen field, the field would become a lake, its crisp, translucent surface cracking and drawing me in. The bleak caress of snow, your cool hands in a circle around my neck. The apartment is as cold as frozen fields. My limbs sculpt snow angels in the sheets. You bring ice into the room. Storm. I am waiting for my love. He is coming for me through snow. Outside is a storm. Slow whispers in the still longhouse. I am waiting for my love. Shadows string across the ceiling, push across the wind, bend beneath the white heavy sky. I am waiting for my love. His eyes are webbed with mist and ice. I wrap my skin around the night. Ice spreads up through trees. I am waiting for my love. I can taste my love's blue skin, my heart jumping and still. I spread us out on hard ground. I am waiting for my love. After the fire at the asylum, Buffalo, New York, 1800s. Only the burnt-out shell was left. The windows were barred, and from between the cold iron bars came wailing and weeping, centuries old. The broken feet of women dragged across the wooden beams. The men's shaved heads were cool and dry. Wrapped. The promise of youth, flush with excitement, live on the edge of suicide. You have no vision of the carcass of youth that lies ahead, the swill and gore of it, but you lock your bedroom door and sit wrapped on the bed, holding grief in your palms. 1977. 1. Blend into trees and sky in brown skin. Stay tight to tree bark. Hold your breath between the crisp steps of teenagers slipping past in a cloud. Shed the cloak of trees, veer towards home where your thick socks shuffle on the parquet floor. 2. School is black terror, so you walk into books like Alice, blue jeans and tight skin, hallucinogens and hatred, spun in webs through the hallowed halls. 3. You walk a thin gauntlet, alone. The last poem I'm going to read is Face. All the days and all the shadows that I hid in so that I would not be seen, yet I was always dark, concrete, a blood spot on a crisp white shirt. They tried to scrub me, wipe me, cut me out. Every day it took an army of pains to prepare a face to confront the world. I took my supplies from the department store, books, mascara, a palette of shadows buried in my pockets and crevices. They did not find the lipsticks tucked into my closet with the monsters that paraded around my room all the night long. Stripes of cerulean where their eyes would have been, crimson lipstick in place of the mouths they did not have. I had no mouth to speak with either. I wanted to paint one on my mute face with the lipstick I'd buried in the closet, but the closet stank of the monster's revelry, and I was banned from the department store. So I shut what was in place of my mouth, foregoing words and food and love. Thank you for listening.